What's the worst case of helicopter parenting you've seen? A mom came with her kid to whine about a deserved poor grade. The kid was a junior in college. Mom was not happy when I informed her I couldn't and wouldn't talk to parents. And by not happy I mean lost her shit and was escorted out by campus security. The student was mortified, of course, even came by to apologize, and I was basically like, let's both just pretend that never happened. MK, here's what you should work on for the next exam. My son told me about this one. 5th grade overnight trip to nature center. Kid's mom went, was only parent, that wasn't a teacher, to go. Had a complete meltdown when she was told that her kid would be sleeping in cabin with other kids and not her. She was told this before trip as well. 4 teachers per cabin. Basically overnight school. He said she basically spent the entire night outside watching the cabin. Really creeped everyone out. Man, the rants she went on Facebook. At least her friends and family called her out on her nonsense. Imagine quite a few people got blocked that day. My best friend's mom. They live 10 minutes away from me, and my friend is really bad with directions. He drove to my house and got lost, so it took him like 45 minutes. After like 30 minutes his mom calls me and is sobbing because he hadn't checked in with her. He's 26. Ugh, this one kid I knew from elementary high school. The mom didn't have a job and somehow managed to be at his school every single day, watching over him. In elementary she was a volunteer teacher's aide every year, which meant she would help out in whatever class he was in. By middle school, she was the head of the PTA, and although not necessary she was at the campus almost every day. She would just wander around and eventually, the school stopped caring and she could do whatever she wants. She would randomly pop into one of his classes and just observe or come up to him to hang out with him at lunch. The kid was 24/7 stressed the hell out, his whole body always clenched up. His mom put immense pressure on him to do well in school, both academically and behavior wise. He had an extremely hard time making friends and eventually he was bullied to the point of randomly getting beat up. Made it to the first year of high school before he had to transfer to another school. It's her fault. All she wanted was for him to be smart and polite to teachers, and he never got to learn how to just be a guy and make friends. Dude came in to talk about his son's test scores. The son was in my 2nd year university course, and the dad was a prof in the subject I was teaching who thought I was hard on his son. We reviewed the midterm together. In the end I gave the kid back 1 mark, so he went from like a 73 to a 74%. Seriously cannot imagine what it was like for that kid going up. My son's befriended the new kid in middle school. Homeschooled through elementary school years, but parents wanted him to interact with kids. He's a good kid, smart, but guarded and sheepish, but he got along great with my sons. They want to have a sleepover. He gets dropped off and his mother hands me a list. Had to be 4 pages of his routine. Dos and don'ts and everything. Adam is not to have anything to drink after the hour of 8 p.m. He needs to brush his teeth with a toothbrush we sent him with. He needs to be asleep by blah blah blah. I have 3 kids. I can't keep a 12-year-old kid alive for 20 hours without a list. She would text me non-stop. I felt bad for the kid. I let him know, listen, if you bend a few of these rules, I'll never tell your mom if you won't, and he had this huge smile. I'm not sure what kind of people helicopter parents think they're creating, but it can't be a fun one, that's for sure. In college, a girl's mom stayed in her room with her the first week of our freshman year, went to classes with her, ate with her and attended our dorm meeting, introducing herself as Crystal's mommy. She finally went home, and Crystal had obviously never learned to do anything on her own. Her roommate dated a guy in my floor and would tell us about her daily, multiple calls home. She didn't know how to do laundry, so mommy paid roommate to do it for her. By midterm, Crystal was failing all her classes and had basically just given up going to classes. It was too hard. Again mommy shows up, stays 2 weeks, talks to her professors, then pulled her out of school. I'm curious what she's doing now. Hopefully she broke out on her own and gained some independence. Tried to befriend this guy who was 18. Introduced him to one of my wife's single friends. His mom went to dinner with us and drilled us with questions. We went to a movie after. Luckily his mom didn't go, but ended up missing the first showing and had to watch a later showing. Mom was furious that her baby boy was out so late partying with us. He wasn't allowed to go out with us again. He's 26 now. Saw him a couple weeks ago at the store and his mom was walking a few feet behind him. He has 2 older sisters that moved away as soon as they turned 18. One moved to Mexico and the other moved to Japan. We live in Kentucky. I now know why they moved. Working summer orientation for my old community college and we have new students register for classes towards the end of the session. Counselors are there to help with class selection. This one mom was literally hovering over her son telling him which classes to choose and completely ignoring the counselor's advice. When she had him stand up, she proceeded to sit down and she herself started registering her son for his classes. I tried to intervene, letting her know that we ask that the student register themselves and that he'll be doing online registration for the rest of his college career. I was told to FK off. Later I pulled him aside and told him to change his password and swap into a class more appropriate for his placement exams. It was this incident that triggered us to design a parent orientation to keep them away from their kids. Welcome to adulthood, lil bro. While working at new student orientation in college, I was told a story from a previous year. The parents who attended orientation were housed separately from the students. One mom wanted to stay with her daughter and took the bed of another student. The mom told the student she can find somewhere else to sleep. The student, not knowing what to do, ended up sleeping in a chair in the common area of the dorm. In a different twist on this story, my mom helped me move into my college dorm. She put the sheets on my bed and then proceeded to fall asleep on it. I had to bring all of my stuff up a 3-story walk up by myself while she took a nap. I guess that's whatever the opposite of a helicopter parent is. As in I was checking students into their dorm rooms. One mother came with her son, who looked to be about 25, and she would not let him get a single word in. She went on about it being his first year in college and that she was finally approving of him moving away from home and actually going to college. A big yikes we kept an eye on later. When he was assigned to a traditional room with a roommate, she flipped her shit, saying how she wanted him in an apartment so she could stay with him whenever she wanted. Can't do that anyway, and she would withdraw him from school if she didn't get her way. Thankfully, I was already dead inside from dealing with other residents, so I checked her son in and immediately gave him the number of my boss in case his mother gave any more problems while he was moving in. I later heard from another that she tried to prevent the roommate from entering their shared room, even though her son was desperately trying to get her to leave. The and student security had to escort her out of the building where she sat until her son was done moving in. The son was actually a really cool dude once his mother was out of his hair, and a really involved student, happy to be on his own and living the college life. Even if he was a bit older, his mom still managed to call our duty phones asking about him, but BC of federal laws we just hung up. Any other stories that led you to become the dead inside Oh, plenty. Ones that come to mind. A girl expecting me to move them out when she cancelled her contract and blamed me for her not being out in time. A party that was throwing cases of beer out of their 2nd-story window to a friend below. A dry campus. No alcohol allowed. And tried to run away. A handful of suicide attempts. A girl that tried to get me fired for finding her 8 full bottles of Svedka during health and safety checks and reporting her. I'm not allowed to physically go through items. She could have put them out of sight instead of the literal center of the room, but okay. The girl who threw spaghetti at my door for no goddamn reason. The piss bucket incident, where another and I found a bucket of piss in the room adjacent to mine and we didn't really question it. Bad idea. And just called maintenance for it. Turns out, I had a squatter next to me for 2 months living in the overhead cupboard, and literally no one knew he was there, so that was pretty scary. I have tons more, but these ones just broke me, lol. As in college it was always a nightmare when those kids would show up at the dorms. The ultra sheltered kids with helicopter parents go fucking nuts as soon as they get out on their own and discover alcohol. And guess who has to keep them from getting arrested or dying of alcohol poisoning? Yeah, my roommate was the daughter of a helicopter. Her mom actually tried to shame my mom for allowing me to play video games and shit. My mom was also very open about sex. Basically, you're going to do stupid shit. Just use some protection to be stupid responsibly. Her mom would write letters and put at the bottom, PS no sex. My roommate would dip out and spend days holed up in some other guy's dorm. wasn't such an issue at first because it was just her boyfriend and he was actually pretty tight. But then she broke up with him and started spending the time with random guys she's just met. Which like, fine, sleep with whoever you want. But she freaked out when I asked her to just tell me where she was and whether to expect her back that night. Once she just dipped out at 2 AM for a walk and didn't come back. I literally just wanted to have a way of knowing if she legit went missing and could tell the police who she was with. Of course she didn't use any sort of BC either. Meanwhile, I stayed in our room and played Fallout. Me going buck wild being away from my parents was basically me eating frosting out of the tin with a spoon because nobody told me I couldn't. I mean, shitty eating habits still aren't good, but my body wasn't going to be found in a ditch that way. Edit. Since everyone's asking, Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Fallout 4 wasn't out yet. I love them all except 76 and Brotherhood of Steel. Those are cursed. I was 11-13 at the time. I had a friend on the swim team that was also around that age. His parents were the most controlling people I had ever seen. His mother looked like the head of a Catholic girls' school that punishes students for singing. We all used to play Nintendo DS games during meets. He just watched over our shoulders because if he touched a gaming console he would be punished. His parents always made him wear the same clothes every day. Tan khakis, white shirt, dark blue sweater vest. I once got him a t-shirt for his birthday. He gave it back saying that he wasn't allowed to wear it. He was homeschooled. Pretty sure his family spoke ecclesiastical Latin at home. Fucking weird. I knew a girl with a family like that. She legit would kneel to pray in school. I slept over once and they had a fucking church organ in their living room but no TV because it was from the devil. She got dressed under her covers because being naked was a sin. She had an older sister that flipped the fuck out a few years later, shaved her head and had a mental breakdown and killed herself. We were not surprised. Being naked is a sin? Did they miss out on, like, first 12 pages of the Bible?